welcome to another episode of the Just Some Magic podcast. I am your host, Morgan, and here on Just Some Magic, we like to share people's most magical moments in the theme parks. Today, I have a very special guest, and her name is Toy. Hi, Toy.
Hi, Morgan.
I am so excited for your story today. And you have, for those watching either or listening on Spotify and can see the video or watching on YouTube, you have a legitimate like podcasting setup. And would you like to share why?
Sure. I just recently launched my podcast called We Can Laugh About It Now. It's on Spotify, it is on Apple Podcast, it's on Google Podcasts, and a whole host of others. So I definitely would love to get the word out. I appreciate you having me on so much to help
Yes.
get the word out about my new little podcast. But it's where I interview people about their fun, crazy, awkward, scary travel adventures.
I love it. I love it. And we met in a very unique way. I
Yeah.
don't usually meet my guest. Mind you, this was before COVID, probably right before COVID too,
Yeah.
that we met.
Yes.
Would you like to share that little story?
Yeah. Well, so it kind of goes back because my daughter, who we've been a huge Disney family for many, many years, and when my daughter was in high school, she discovered The Diz, which is a podcast that was near and dear to us, and we've listened to for a long time and watched on YouTube. And I think it was around the time that we were planning our Disneyland trip. And so we were starting to watch a
Oh.
whole lot of those because we had never been. Um, I can't really remember what year it was, but we went to Disneyland in 2019. And so had been watching the Diz for sure. And um, at that point, she was a cast member. And we happened to be in the Magic Kingdom one day, the three of us, me, my husband, and my daughter. And we were in line for the Haunted Mansion inside the queue. And we noticed somebody kind of tall, long blonde hair, and she looked really, really familiar. And we all kept kind of staring, but trying to not stare and be awkward and weird. And my daughter and my husband both finally said, I think that's Morgan from the Diz. And I'm like, really? You think? And we're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you kind of turned around and we're like, it's her. And we couldn't help
Oh,
ourselves. We're like, hey, hi, hi, we know you from the Diz. Like a bunch of nerds.
I love it. No, it made me so happy
Aw.
because I was only specifically on the Disneyland show, which I'm assuming was what you guys were watching in prep for
Mm-hmm.
your trip. And
Mm-hmm.
so not, the Disney World show was much, much more popular and they've been doing that for quite a long time. They don't even have the Disneyland show anymore. And
Oh
so to get recognized was so exciting for me.
no.
And it's so funny. I only get recognized when I'm with my mom, who has never made like an appearance or anything, but my mom was with me that
Oh,
day.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm
That's
like,
funny.
and I think I actually, like, ran into somebody else that recognized me from the Diz that same day in Adventureland and then later at Epcot, and, like, it was 3 groups of people in one day, and I'm like, "Mom, I swear this doesn't happen on a regular basis, like, I am not famous by any means," like, and
Well, you were
it
famous to us.
Oh, that makes me so happy, like, sincerely, and, Miranda and I stayed in touch, she's been
Mhm.
on my episode or my podcast as well, and
Yeah.
she's so sweet and perky and
Mm.
happy and just
Oh.
adore her, and so it's so nice to reconnect with you and help you support your new podcast.
Oh, well, thank you. I am so, so grateful.
Before we get into some questions so everybody else can get to know you, what is a teaser of what your most magical moment is gonna be about?
Mine is kind of a combination of magical moments. They all kind of tie together. It's
Okay.
not one singular moment. It has to do with how my husband and I met, and it
Ooh.
has a lot to do with my daughter, Miranda.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
So it's not
And
much of a tease. I'm kind of holding back, but it's too hard to
no,
kind of tease without getting into too much detail.
no, I love it. And we'll get into more detail, but are you located in Florida?
We are. We are
Oh, okay.
just about 25 miles outside of. Orlando, from Disney.
Oh,
Hmm. Hmm.
fantastic. Oh
It's
my
not
goodness.
25 minutes though.
No, 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 and especially if you have to go on I-4,
It's
and if
I-4.
anybody just whew, my goodness gracious,
Yeah,
I-4 is the death of me.
it is. It's like
Avoid it at all
it's
cost.
getting worse, and you can't get there in under an hour, it seems like most days, or home.
Right,
So it's kind of
right.
treacherous.
But that expressway, though, that they built in some
Mm,
parts, I don't care how much they wanna charge for those tolls, I am on that
for sure.
as many times as I can.
Yep, yep. If we can use it to our advantage, we're getting on it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. But perfect. So we'll jump into some questions
Okay.
before. So my first one, super, super simple, is why do you love theme parks?
Oh, well, this kind of ties into my story, and I'll go ahead and share this part of it because I've lived here close to Disney for the majority of my life. Um, I grew up kind of going to Disney and some of the different theme parks as a kid, just kind of in my backyard. My very first trip, I think it was 1974, so only a couple of years after Disney opened. My
Wow.
grandmother saved up the story is that she saved up all her silver dollars to take the whole family to Disney. And I just
Oh,
found some pictures a couple of months ago at my mom's house of me with Donald and then all of us family together. You can tell it's just right off of Main Street, kind of where they do the silhouette pictures off there to the side, the kind of
oh.
gardeny area. Yeah, so it was really cool to see those, and there was a picture with Mickey as well
Mhm.
with me. So like I was like
Donald's number one.
5.
Well,
Donald is
Mir-
number 1.
I love him. Like, I know Miranda really loves Mickey, but
Yeah, she loved
Donald is
Donald
number
though
one.
too. Yeah, I mean she
Oh,
was
really?
really good friends with many of them.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
oh,
So it's
okay.
kind of a little tease for my story.
Oh, how exciting. And when you say your grandma saved up all of her silver dollars to take the whole family, how big is this family?
Oh,
How
it
big is this
was
group?
probably 7 of us.
Oh
My
my
parents,
goodness.
grandparents, and then the 3 kids.
Oh my gosh, that
Yeah.
sounds
So it wasn't huge,
wonderful.
huge, but it was still pretty big. And I mean, that's definitely back in the day when we had the ticket books with the
Mhm.
A and the E tickets. And yeah, I mean, it definitely was a very different time and very nostalgic time of
Yes.
Disney and Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
So,
I always love any art with or like for example, a couple years ago, one of the virtual races for Run Disney was the books, the ticket books, and with like the
mm,
ABC. And I'm like,
oh,
it's
how
so
cool.
aesthetic and beautiful and stuff, and I'm like, I couldn't imagine, like I never really quite understood how they work, so could you enlighten us a little bit
Oh,
for us younger
sure.
folk that don't know what that was like? I'm so
Yeah.
fascinated.
I would love to. So you had a ticket book that went, there was an A, B, C, D, and E ticket.
Mm,
And the A ticket had like 5, maybe 5 different attractions you could go do. And so you
mhm.
would use your A ticket to do one of those. Maybe it was Hall of Presidents or the
Oh,
Carousel of
okay.
Progress, right? And then
Okay.
as their thrill value, I guess, increased, so did the letter of the ticket. So the e-ticket, you hear about e-ticket attractions, those are the
Yes.
top thrill attractions because those were
Oh.
like, you had to pick one of those to use your ticket for.
Yeah.
So your ticket book might
Oh.
have, 5 tickets and all those different options of rides, but you had to pick what you were going to do for each ticket.
Oh, gotcha. That totally
Mhm.
makes sense. Like, I knew the e-ticket attraction came from the ticket booths, and I knew that
Mhm.
the e-ticket was the best, and so when you got these ticket booths, is it just, like, one of each letter, or
Yes.
would you get Oh.
So I think it was just one of each letter. I think you had to buy multiple books if you wanted more. I'm pretty sure. I was pretty young, and by the time I
Okay.
was going on my own, that had all gone away, and you just had like a cardboard ticket that you scanned. Um,
Mhm.
but I'm pretty sure you bought a book of tickets, and then if you wanted more opportunities to ride other stuff, then you had to buy another
Oh.
book. Mhm.
Gotcha, gotcha. So if you wanted to ride Tower of Terror, I mean, Tower of Terror probably wasn't around back then, but like
No.
the big ones, like now, for example, Guardians of the Galaxy at Epcot, you're gonna have to buy multiple books
Right.
just to do that one ride twice, and then you'll have all these other things of like Living with the Land.
Yes.
I
Right.
can go on that 5 times. I don't necessarily want to. Like, okay,
Exactly. Exactly.
gotcha. So it
Yeah.
is very strategic of what you used for. I
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
see
and
that.
I mean, I haven't been in the past couple of years really to Disney where they've made all the changes to fast passes and Genie
Yes.
Plus and all of that, but it kind of feels like it's that same sort of concept where you're having to make choices about like, you can only get so many fast passes, right? And you're having
Right.
to make a choice about which one you want. It just it again, it's how they're trying to control the crowds, right? And where people are going. And
Right.
we can't have everybody going to Everest or
Right.
or Flight
At
of
the same
Passage at the same time. I mean, which
yes.
happens anyway because there aren't enough rides in Animal Kingdom, but
Right,
just saying.
exactly, and I haven't really been to Disney all that often ever since, the reservations and I let my annual
Mm,
pass expire. I'm kinda waiting for things at Disney to settle down a bit.
us too.
Um, yeah, I did wait or I did go, at the time of this recording a week ago with a friend who hasn't done Rise of Resistance, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and just a bunch of other things. So, we splurged for that $20 fast pass to do
Yeah.
Rise of the Resistance, or I'm sorry, Lightning Lane, and
Mhm. Mhm.
his reaction was definitely worth the $20 each
Yeah,
of us, which is like, that's hard. I can't do that on the regular,
I have
but,
no doubt.
we were there limited time, it was after work, and he's never done it, and I was like, "This this is a great ride
Yeah.
to
And
spend it on for sure."
that is when it counts. Like that is
Mhm.
when you have that option, that's when you're like, yes, that's when I need to do this. But it's hard for me to think about a family of five, coming in first
Oh,
time, and
multiple
then
days
well,
too.
and you're trying to like get it all in, and
Mhm.
it's also very expensive, and I
Yes.
I do feel bad because it's complicated, even for us who have done this for years and
Yeah.
try to keep up with the latest and greatest. It's complicated, and I
Mhm.
don't know. I think sometimes can be a deterrent for people, and they may miss out on things because they can't afford it, or
Absolutely.
they don't get it,
Or the
or
system's too complicated.
mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
But yeah, I feel like the e-tickets and all the ticket booklets would be much simpler, if they
Yeah,
really want to.
right.
Here,
Back to
you
the good
get
old days.
yeah, go, and I think honestly that'd be an adorable souvenir
Oh, it
for
would.
sure.
Oh, it would.
I think
I scavenged around trying to find because I know we had one of those books left over for a long time. And I mean, my family has moved a couple times since
yeah.
all that. So I'm sure they're long gone, but I'm like, what it would be like to have one of
Yes.
those ticket books. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Imagine if you found it and then you still had an e-ticket and then you go up to Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, does this work? Like,
I bet I
this
bet.
coupon's expired.
Honestly, I think your best bet is like eBay because I think that stuff is going for crazy money.
Oh, I bet you could
Mhm.
probably buy a bunch of lightning lanes for the whole
Right.
crew with the money
Right.
you'd make on eBay for an e-ticket.
Right. But,
Oh, I
is that
love
really
it.
what you want, or do you want to keep it for that
Right.
nostalgia? And I think
Yeah.
it's something you'd want to keep if you found one.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Awesome. Well, that was wonderful. I love learning about e-tickets and they're just so cute. But my next go-to question is not your favorite character, but what character do you most identify with that you are the most similar to?
I had to ask my family about this question because I had a feeling you
Really?
might ask. And
Yes.
because
One of my favorites.
I couldn't really come up with one. I mean, I
Mhm.
love Mickey, I love Steamboat Willie. But they're like, you're not like them at all. Um, they said anger.
What?
Yeah, I
Your
have
family
that.
said anger from
They
Inside
did.
Out?
They did. Yeah.
I'm confused.
I
What?
know. You're not seeing that side of me. I reserve it for
Oh my
certain situations.
oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
So
Are you
anger.
is it like more of so like a mama bear when, someone messes with your kid, that's when it comes out? Or is it
Um
just I'm very fascinated right now because I cannot see that for you for the bit I
I'm
know you.
I'm just really impatient and
Oh.
yeah. So particularly if it has to do with work or driving.
Oh.
So
Oh.
that's where
Mhm.
but I've always said for the most part it keeps me calm because I get it out and then I move on. So I blow my
Okay.
top and then we're done. It's okay.
Would it I I don't like to say a villain, but I'm thinking more like evil queen or not evil queen. The I was thinking Alice in Wonderland characters. The
Oh, the
the
Queen
Queen
of
of
Hearts?
Hearts.
I
Is
mean
that who you would you say?
that's pretty harsh. I mean, I think some people might see me that way, particularly based because of my job at work.
Oh.
But no, I mean,
That's so
that's the
funny.
problem. I'm too many different people. I'm
Mm,
I can't really align with one. But my
got
both of my family members said anger almost immediately. So we're going with anger. But not today. Today I'm joy.
I love it. Oh, that's so good. I do honestly, Anger's so funny
Right.
in the Inside Out movie when I love all of his headliner papers to have something to do with like whatever's going on in Riley's
Yes.
life, who's the main character. I
Right.
think it is hilarious and
Yeah.
like you said, lets it out and he feels better. It's
Right.
good.
Moving
Good.
on.
Oh, that is hilarious. Awesome. Well, you've been going to Disney for years and years and years. If you could go on any retired Disney ride, what would it be?
um, my first answer was uh, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, but I got to satisfy that in Disneyland, and I
Oh,
got to
yes.
take Greg and Miranda on it, who had heard about it for years, and I was like, they're gonna think this is so dumb, and
Yeah.
but they loved it. They loved it, so that was fun.
I mean, oh, what ride could you go to hell and back, you know?
I mean, it's perfect for anger. So,
I'm learning more and more about you. I like these questions for you. Oh, this is
so,
awesome.
but actually, I think my answer would be, and this is gonna, I think, crack some people up, but if you had wings, is the ride.
Is that where Buzz Lightyear is
It
now?
it is, and it was a few
Ooh.
incarnations before it became Buzz, and it
Mhm.
really wasn't that much of a ride. But
Oh,
you were in sort of the clamshells, kind of like the Doom buggies is a similar kind of is how I remember it. But
yes.
the song is what gets me, and this song from that ride is like an earworm, and I just want everyone else to experience that.
Yes.
And the cliff divers in Acapulco, which I'm pretty sure I feel like that same video is used in the Mexico Pavilion boat
In
ride.
the Donald Duck ride,
Yeah,
yes!
I feel like it's the same
Oh,
stuff. Some of it.
oh my
Yeah.
I the only reason I know that is because I love deep diving on YouTube and love, like, the history videos of certain rides and stuff, and I'm like, I think, certain airlines took it over and then it
I make
changed and then it ended up being Buzz.
Eastern Airlines, I think. I think it was Eastern
Yeah.
Airlines.
Yeah. And I think if you go back to Tomorrowland currently and you see the Buzz logo, well before you like you said what was it if you had wings? Is that what
Yeah.
the name of it was?
Mhm. Mhm.
I there's like almost like a cloud like backdrop
Yeah.
to it, but now that's made it a little more Buzz Lightyear themed and stuff, but
Mhm.
that was remnants of the original ride
I
or one of the
think
iterations you said.
yeah, I think it became I don't remember at all what the sign looked like for the ride. Because as a kid, I was like, "Get in the door, get on the ride." But there was some other I don't know if it was like a this way. It was way before steampunk was a thing, but I feel like it might have had a little steampunky
Mm.
vibe. Um, I cannot remember what it was called, but I remember I've watched a YouTube video as well, and it had a very big cloud design for the backdrop of the sign. So I don't know
Oh.
if that was part of if you had wings or not. It could be, flying. Maybe it did. I don't really
Mhm.
remember. Again, I was pretty young,
Well, we
but I don't know.
gotta go YouTube deep dive again and find it for sure. And
And of course the film quality back then was pretty lousy, and it was dark. So it was real
yes,
grainy and you really couldn't see a whole lot. So, we
love those,
tried.
love those. Oh,
Right.
that's too funny. Well, the song, I'm gonna go look up the song afterwards because I think the history video I watched didn't showcase the song. I think they were just talking about it with
Oh,
videos and stuff. I'm gonna have to go back and
it's
listen
all
to
ab-
that. That is too funny.
it's all about the song.
Oh my goodness. And then my very last question is, what attraction would you be devastated if it got demolished during your lifetime? Updates and improvements are acceptable though.
Um, so my answer is the teacups.
Ooh,
And I
okay.
say that because it's an iconic ride. I mean, yeah, you can go find a spinny ride like that at any carnival fair, theme park, whatever.
Mhm,
But the fact that they're teacups, the fact that it, gives that feeling of Alice in Wonderland's Tea Party,
mhm,
right? I mean, the one in Disneyland is phenomenal. The garden party, the way it's open to the
oh,
air. However, I understand that in Disney World, it's hot and very humid.
mhm,
And if they didn't have
and
that,
rainy.
and rainy, and if they didn't have it covered, there would be a lot of very ill people, I think, on that ride after spinning in
Right.
the heat and humidity. But yeah, the
Yes,
rain is probably
and
the bigger
2 would
issue.
turn into instead of a cup of tea, it'd be a cup of water.
It would be. It would be.
Turns into a
But
water ride.
it's a new concept. But I think that ride, because you never really have to wait for it.
Mhm,
Maybe a 15-minute wait, maybe 30 in crazy times. But usually you can get on pretty fast. Um, and you're always going to have fun. You're always going to be laughing, cracking up,
mhm,
having a good time on that ride and get off and just be silly. And it's something for everybody. Everybody can do it and enjoy it.
mhm.
And we have so many memories of like, well, we're walking by, oh, there's no line. Let's go ride the teacups.
Let's
And
pop
all of us
on.
cramming in to the one teacup and like
Yes.
spinning it like a maniac, right? And
Ooh, you're a fast spinner.
oh,
Ooh.
this
Ooh,
this
you are wild.
this
I
family
love
doesn't
it.
play. We are thrill seekers. So, and I mean, just the three of us piling in and just we have so many memories and silly videos and pictures and stuff from it that
Aw.
if that went away, it would be a very sad day.
Oh my goodness. Well, luckily, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's such a cute little kid ride.
Hmm.
And actually, speaking of teacups, I have this. It's I gotta fix it, but
Oh, how
it's
cute!
yeah. So it's like for those that are listening, it's a fake planter, but it's the teacups, and it has the white rabbit in it with like a fake plant that I need to. The other piece fell off. I need to fix that. But yes,
Well, it's
I think the
adorable.
Thank you, thank you. I think the teacups are so aesthetic, especially at Disneyland, and then at night, when all the lanterns from
Mm.
the tea party are lit up and they go to the music, it's just so beautiful. I will say, as I'm getting older, I'm developing motion
Oh
sickness, and so
no!
that ride is a little bit harder for me to go on, and
Oh,
so
that's true.
but aesthetically, I think it's absolutely stunning. I will say, don't make the mistake I did. I wasn't feeling good on it. I was with my friends who, like you, love to go fast and crazy. Well, I was dumb and I turned to the side and rested my head on my hand and closed my eyes, which made it a million times worse.
Yes.
And I was like, oh no, oh no. But I do enjoy it for aesthetic purposes. I will wait gladly for my friends on the side and take videos of them,
Yeah.
but my body cannot handle it sadly anymore.
Oh, I do understand. I do understand.
Mhm. But
Oh,
such a good ride, such a good
it
ride.
is. It really is.
Thank you so much for answering all of those questions. You did wonderful, and the whole anger really got me. That was so funny. I don't think anybody has said anger.
I was like, I'm probably the first.
I love it. I love it. Eventually, I'll try to find all of the Inside Out characters and I'll put you guys all together.
Awesome. We should meet up.
As you guys can Disney bound, that'd be so fun.
Right.
Um, but now I'll let you take it away and share your most magical moment.
Okay.
So, yeah, if wherever you want to start, our earliest memories to building up, I'll take it all.
Okay. So, like I said, my first trip was when I was probably around 5, and Disney had only been open a couple of years. And because I do live so close to Disney, I did plenty of school field trips, or I was in band, and I definitely marched at Disney, at Epcot,
Oh,
at Magic Kingdom, and with the band. So those were always really fun experiences. Getting to go behind the scenes a little bit was super, super fun and exciting. You felt really special going into some of those parade areas. And then, of course, as I got to be in college, I had a friend that was in the college program. And of course, this was all pre, you know, 9/11. So things were really, really different. Security was not a thing, really. And I
oh.
got some kind of private tour, private access stuff with my friend that I probably shouldn't have. Um,
Wait, what do you mean?
so one time, how do I describe this? It's all changed so much now. So one time we parked
Uh-huh.
at the Contemporary when you could do that and no one really questioned you. And we walked up to
Yeah.
the gate. Well, we were on our way to the gate on the walkway from the Contemporary, and there used to be like a back area parking for like service vehicles and things like that. That was behind
Mhm.
Main Street, behind the confectionery, and some of those shops right
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
And the line is always just act like you know what you're doing. And we walked in through the confectionery, and we were in on Main Street, and we were in the park. I feel so
Wait,
illegal.
wait, you snuck into Disney?
We did. I
Oh
know.
my, it's so impressive. I mean, I've seen the silly thing of adults going into strollers and covering themselves up to like, their babies and stuff. I don't feel like people get away with that.
This
That is
isn't
very
this isn't
impressive.
possible today. Like it's
Oh,
that
no, no,
that
no.
spot isn't even accessible now, and especially now with the way they redone the train and all of that. It's
Mhm.
like every time I'm on the monorail, I'm always like, "That was the spot. You
That was
can't
the
get there
spot. I
now. But that
saw
was
it.
the spot." Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so cool.
So
I love it.
so like a year or two later, we were still in college, and my boyfriend at the time, which this is part of the story coming up, but we went to Disney. He was down visiting, and we went to Disney with her and her boyfriend.
Mhm.
And she one more time said, "Follow me. Just look like you know what you're doing." And we go behind a green wall and down some stairs, and we were in the tunnels. And again,
Stop.
just look like you know what you're doing. And we ate at the commissary for cast members down there for like
Stop.
half the price of what we would have paid. I'm not kidding. And then we were
That's
leaving.
genius.
Again, this was a very different time. And then
Yeah.
my husband's favorite part of the story is we were walking past. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but the zoo, costuming, the zoo.
Oh. So you when you go past costuming,
Hmm.
what happened?
So you could see in, and I don't know. Your show is so magical. I really don't want to ruin this for people, but this is
I'll
the
put a
story.
disclaimer. If we
You'll
if we
put
talk about behind the scenes, I like to say like um disclaimer that we're gonna be
Okay.
talking about some behind the scenes things, so if you don't wanna ruin the magic for small ears listening,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, good. So we
Yeah,
walk by and we're trying to not stare because we don't want to seem obvious, but we're like,
yeah. Play it cool, play it cool.
oh my gosh, people without a head on. And Cinderella smoking a cigarette, going, oh my God, if he does that to me one more time, and just on this rant.
Oh
Yes.
my
It was
goodness!
so, but again, it was so fast, and we were trying to like not, stare and be obvious, but
It's like, "Don't be
I was
suspicious,
like, this
don't
is a
be
moment I
suspicious."
need to sear this in my brain. So
That is amazing.
we did that. Yeah. So that's one piece of kind of fun magic that we've had
That is.
way
If
back.
if you, um I'm gonna that made me think of a story I actually haven't shared on the show, just a little quick little insert. So, I worked at World of Disney during my college program now 10 years ago, and, I worked at the biggest Disney store in the world back when it was Downtown Disney, and it's got even bigger since then. But I was one of like 800 employees at this one location. Like, we
Mhm.
didn't do multiple locations, just this one location. And so, just to like I've said on my 100th episode, um, my best friend Sarah and I would switch name tags, and our managers would not know that we would not recognize that we switched and just be like, oh, Sarah, oh, Morgan, like that kind of thing. So we were definitely a number. And so there were times and like this one way me think of it, we would try to go find each other. But I always said, walk with a purpose. No one's gonna question you
That's
and stop it.
right.
If you look like you're on a mission, no one's gonna stop you. So when I was on like the store is huge and
Yeah.
I would go try to find my friend, I would just oh, gotta go do the same.
Right, and I use that to this day. People won't bother
Yes.
you if you look like you are on a mission, like, "Oh,
And busy
don't
and
bother
yep,
her."
and they'll won't question it if you're doing something you're not supposed to.
Right.
But having that confidence to go do that, like, it gives me catch me if you can vibes where, like, I could never.
It was scary, but it
Yeah.
was so fun, and it's the one of the
Oh,
best memories.
and we are not encouraging this,
No,
everybody, like,
no, and again,
we are not
it was such a
long
different
ago,
time. You
different time.
it's so much more strict now, probably because
Mhm.
of us.
Well, there was no harm to anything,
No, no.
oh, and like you said, another story that reminded me again. I'm so sorry. So I actually had my best friend from high school visit me while I was at the college program. Again, this is I've never shared this story before. And we were in Tomorrowland. We were on a budget, like when you're working for Disney in a college program, you're making next to nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely next to nothing. And so I was really good at making quesadillas and like adding all these fun stuff in it. So I like packed a little lunch for us, but it was cold. So I had my friend wait. And this is while I was a cast member too, but I did not work at Magic Kingdom. I never even picked up a shift at Magic Kingdom. I went into the employee break room in Tomorrowland in regular tourist garb, microwaved my quesadillas for me and my friend, and then took it and then walked back up. And I remember getting a lot of weird looks, but again, walking with confidence. And we ate our quesadillas and we saved money. And I can't believe I did that, but at least I was a cast member. You were not. And that is a
Nope.
very impressive. I am very, very impressed.
Well, I guess you could say, so to back up a couple of
Mhm.
years, um, I went one summer with a friend who invited me to go to Cedar Point, which is in Ohio.
Yes. That's the big roller coaster
It
one.
sure is. It is
Oh, love to go there one day.
roller coaster capital, or I don't know. It's known for having like some of the biggest, best, and the most roller coasters. And the first day we were there, we got in, settled into our little dorm thing, and went out to the park to ride rides because I'd never been there.
Mhm.
And we were standing in line for a ride. We had met um, this other guy, just made friends with, who also worked there. And
Ah.
and then we got in line for this ride that seated four people, and there was a we could tell another employee standing in front of us because he had his lanyard on with his badge. And we just struck up a conversation and asked if he wanted to ride with us to be the fourth person. And sure, well, the ride ended up breaking down. And
Oh,
we all just were like, hey, let's hang out. Let's go ride something else. So we all hung out
yeah.
for the rest of the night together. And this year in June will be our 30th wedding anniversary. I met my husband standing in line for a ride at Cedar Point.
Stop.
So
That is amazing.
theme parks are pretty special places for us.
Yes.
So
Wait a minute. So wait,
there's a lot to
I have
unpack
more
there.
I have more questions. Okay, so you didn't live in Ohio. Did he live in Ohio? Like,
No, no. I lived in Florida. This girl that I met down here was going to Florida Southern College. I went to USF, so we didn't even go to the same college. It's so story is so convoluted, and how it ever happened is a miracle. But she and I became friends,
mhm.
and it was time for her to go back up for summer. She was from Pennsylvania, and that's how she
Oh.
knew about Cedar Point and how they hired college kids to work there. And she's like, let's go have fun for the summer. I was like, yeah, sure, let's go. And of course, I met him the first day, and she was like, what happened to having fun? Because I was spending the rest of the time with him. But
Oh no.
he was from Pennsylvania, and again, because Cedar
Oh.
Point recruited from the surrounding states, he
Mm.
was from Pennsylvania too. So of course, he ended up picking the girl from Florida instead of the girl from Pennsylvania. Would have been a
Yeah.
lot more convenient.
You're like, this is okay, when you first saw him, did I mean, like, cliche movies, or did it just happen gradually, like the whole sparks fly,
Um,
or were you like,
it was pretty
"Oh, he's
fast.
nice,"
It was pretty
right?
fast, yeah.
Aw.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean that was I'm gonna age myself right here. That was 1990. So
Aw.
there was no internet. There were no cell phones. There
And you're doing long
we
distance
dated
and,
long
like,
distance from Florida to Pennsylvania for 3 years. So these
that is
kids, these
amazing.
crazy young kids who I texted him and he hasn't it's been 30 seconds and he hasn't texted me. You don't know. Try waiting
You
for a
don't know the
letter.
struggles. You don't know what I've been through.
Try
I
waiting for a
love
letter.
it.
Right. Right. So,
Oh
and
my
also long distance wasn't free. So to make a long distance call cost you some money. So our
right,
parents were like,
right.
if you don't stop with all the phone calls, we're going to cut the phone off. So
Oh my
it
gosh.
was a lot. It was a lot. We had this thing where we knew the phone bills were getting high. So if we were thinking about them, we would call um, the other person, let it ring once, and hang up, and that was a sign that we were thinking of them.
That's so cute. I love it. Aw.
Yeah, yeah,
And so from there, like, how often did you guys visit each other and
pretty
whatnot?
much.
And like, did he go to Disney with you?
Hmm.
Had he ever been before, honestly?
No, so when he he got the full treatment when he came down, and we all went underground. I mean, we gave him
Oh,
the whole tour.
you're like, and this is underground.
Right.
We're technically not supposed to be here,
Yes.
but
Yeah, so he would, we would visit each other. One year, he would come down for spring break. I went up there for spring break, and there was like 3 feet of snow on the ground. My friends were all at Daytona, or
yes.
cruises.
You're in your Florida blood, and I'll tell you
Oh,
this, like, just going back home, and it's not even as north as Pennsylvania, I'm like,
mm-hmm.
"It's so cold."
It's
Like, anything
hard.
below 70, I'm like, "Absolutely, I'm freezing my body
I
off.
know.
No, no, no."
Pack every sweater and jacket and boots if it's going to be 50.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So, um, so yeah, so we would visit each other as often as we could Christmas. So he
Mhm.
ended up proposing. So just a side note, he proposed to me up there over Thanksgiving when I was still in college, and I had a roommate who was from New York, and we were sort of plotting like, oh, let's go up. I'm going to go home for Chris or
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, and
giving.
She's like, yeah, we can go up together. You can ride with me. I'll drop you off at Pennsylvania. And I was like, okay.
Oh,
And I start telling Greg all these plans. And then I just got this bad feeling about it. I didn't trust her.
oh,
I didn't think she was going to come back to get me. I was afraid I was
oh
going to be
no.
trapped there. I just had a really weird feeling, and sometimes you just have to trust your gut. And I called
Right.
him not too long before the trip was supposed to happen. And I was like, I can't come. I don't, this isn't going to work out. And he was like, um, you have to come.
Yeah,
And I
because
was
he's in the
like,
back of his mind, he's got something big
he's
planned
he's got
and can't
all this
spoil it.
stuff planned. And not that this has to do with the theme park, but he really did. So he was a theater, he was actually an English major, but he did drama. He did a lot of productions. He had planned a whole fake audition for the play Our Town, which has this really sweet romantic scene in it, and had his director from the theater and a bunch of his friends on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, when everybody's gone home usually. They
Yeah.
plotted this whole thing at the theater so he could get me on stage and propose to me. And now here I'm telling him I can't come. He's like, you have to
And
come.
oh my gosh. Okay, so wait, did you
Yeah, I ended up
did you
flying.
postpone?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. And everything good happened with the friend. I know you didn't end up going with her, but
Oh yeah,
did something
it was
happen with
fine. We
her?
were never very close. She was literally just a roommate that they threw me in with, so
Oh,
it wasn't a
okay,
big
okay.
deal.
Okay, so there wasn't, like, some crazy, like, she got in a car wreck or
Oh
something
no,
or, like
no, no.
okay,
She made it
maybe
back.
your gut was like, "I'm getting proposed to," but it took it at, like, something crazy is gonna happen, but
Yeah,
you didn't
I
your
don't
gut
know.
misled you to be like
I don't know. There was some reason I wasn't supposed to be on the road. I still don't know why, but it turned out for the
Oh,
best anyway. Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Oh my
So
goodness, and
so
did
yeah.
you have any suspicions that he was gonna propose or, like, on this
Um,
trip specifically? Because I know when you're proposed or gonna get engaged, there's usually talks beforehand and stuff like that.
yeah. So I mean, definitely we had talked about it. We knew that we wanted to be together, and I I did have a little bit of a weird feeling. I didn't fully know how it was all going to go down. But
Mhm.
when his director turned around to me and I was just sitting in the house, she turned around and said, "Would you mind going up on stage and reading with him? I know you're not a student here, but I just think you could pull something out of him that nobody else has." And I was like, "All right, this is weird because I'm not an actor." Yeah,
Something's
I'm
up.
like, okay, yeah,
Wow.
it was
This is
pretty
actually a very good test. I think more acting people should do this to, like, see if you can truly convince somebody else
right.
that
Yes, yeah.
true improv right there.
Yes. Well, I did totally zone out in the middle. The worst part, I'm literally holding a script. He's reading from the script. I'm following along reading. And then suddenly I can't find where he is in the script. And I'm just scouring the page because I'm such a nervous Nelly. And the next thing I look up, he's on his knee in front of me. I'm like, I
Oh,
don't even know what you just said.
is that part of the script? Like,
That was
reading
me. That was what I was doing. And then I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. What?
That's
What's happening?
amazing.
Yeah.
I would have been the same way, been like, "Wait, what part are we on?" Like, oh, that's precious.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And
So
so, is he a big of a theme park lover as you, or specifically
very.
Disney? And so you said you got the whole treatment when you went down to Florida?
Yeah, very much. In fact, he'll do more of the thrill rides than I will. I'll do a lot,
Oh.
but he'll do more like when one of the times we took Miranda back to Cedar Point when she was like, I don't know, 10. He rode the Top Thrill Dragster, which they're taking down now, but that has a really
Ooh.
huge high top hat. It's really they shoot you
Oh.
out, and it's just a little tiny lap bar, so that freaks
Oh,
me out. And it's just a super
yeah.
high top hat, and then you kind of swirl the way down, and it's really really high, really super high,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't do it, so he did.
Right.
But there are
Oh.
things like that he'll do that I can't get past my nerves on it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Oh
I've
my
done Velocicoaster and I like done that a few times and it's
Hey,
fun. It's really
you've done
scary.
it a few times.
Yeah.
My mom, it took her some convincing to do it, but, quoting her, she said, "I'm glad I did it, but I'm" or no, she said I'm glad I did it at night because I can't see where the track
It's
is.
worse at
And then
night.
yeah, and then she goes, "I'm glad I did it once, but I never wanna do it again."
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
like, "Fair, fair enough."
Yeah. Hey, at least you got her on it though. That's
Yes.
impressive.
It was a trip with me and my youngest brother, and, it was, a soft opening, so it was, like, a
Oh,
whole month before it opened. So we just kept, riding it back to back to back, and so it was not only me saying that, "Mom, you'll love this," and then my younger brother just reaffirming, like, "You will like this."
super
Because out of the
cool.
2 of us, she'll listen to my younger brother. And so I'm like, "Okay, mom."
Okay. We're both telling you the same thing, but okay, take it from him.
Basically, you guys grew up and going to like theme parks and you met at a theme park. Like, how cool would that be? Like,
Mhm.
hey, this is where your parents met at a theme park, legitimately.
Yeah, yeah. So we actually took Miranda back when she was, like I said, like 10 and got a picture in front. The ride we initially met on that we didn't ride together was the Demon Drop, which is now gone, but we do have a
Oh,
picture in front of it to commemorate it. So at least we've got that. But yeah, of course they had to, take it down. It's not a super
yeah.
thrilling ride, and it was only like, I don't know, 5 or 6 stories high. So they had to make way for a new coaster. But that's okay.
It was
He
that four
actually,
person
I am
coaster.
I am wearing a necklace that he got made for me that has the coordinates of where we met.
Stop! That's so cute! Ah, I love it. Like, yes, Disney stories and movies are so romantic, but like, that's cute. Oh my gosh. I love that.
No.
Ah, well, do you have any more magical moments
Well,
that you'd like to share?
I do because
Oh, yes.
obviously we are such theme park fans, and going to Disney for so many years. When we had Miranda, we started taking her. We would go to Disney a lot. We would love to get the little like 3 or 4 day passes they used to do all the time, and take a weekend and go here and there. Or we would go to Universal. So it was in her blood, and
Yes.
years and years of going. So when she graduated from high school and she was starting college, she actually applied to Disney, and she got hired on as a lifeguard initially. And a
Mhm.
few months later, they were holding auditions, and she got cast after just one audition, which is pretty
Oh,
incredible. It's
that's rare.
really
I
rare.
have interviewed other people and it took them 50 auditions. So that is
Oh,
incredible.
well, I have to back up and tell one part. So, like, one
Okay.
of the many times when she was little, I mean, we had so many experiences. And she was a kid, even at like 18 months old, 2 years old, she was not afraid of the characters. Like, so many kids, you see them and they're in
Oh.
line, they're in line, they're in line. They get up there and they wig out. Like, their
Yeah, they're
parents, are like,
like,
no,
"This
it's
is a lot
okay.
bigger than I
Yeah.
thought it was gonna
And
be."
they just can't handle it. But she, for whatever reason, she just loved them. And it was so fun because she'd
Oh.
be so tiny, and the characters, you could tell, really got into it. The
Mhm.
fact that she was so tiny and they could, play around with her or whatever. And one
Oh.
really, really fun interaction was back in the day, uh, Camp Minnie and Mickey, which is, I believe, where Pandora is now. Um,
Yes, yes.
they had like a meet and greet over there, like an outdoor meet and greet under like a gazebo, and we took her over there, and they were in their safari gear, and it's so super cute. And they had a really good interaction with her, and they started to walk away with her. They like took her through their little back gate, and she just was like, okay, I'm gonna go with Mickey and Minnie now, and
Like,
walked and walked
"See
and
you,
walked away.
mom, dad."
Yeah, and it was just the sweetest thing, and that was a really super special interaction. We just had so many of those. She had an autograph book that had the pictures in it, and she was like all about meeting all the characters just all the time. It was just her thing.
Oh.
So when she graduated, became a lifeguard, and the auditions came up, and she got cast immediately.
Mhm.
Like on that first audition, which we were losing our minds. Like, oh, so sorry. You are now the face of Disney. Like, you are the dude. Like,
You're the dude.
it was crazy for her dad and I to process all of this. So
Yes.
just that
That's
alone.
I feel like you guys would be the funny parents that, like, I've seen memes where it's like an otter holding a baby otter and it's holding it up like this, like, I made this. Like, after she gets that, you're just like, I made her. We made her. She's now working at Disney. Cool. Like,
We it was like the proud parent moment, like, yeah,
yes.
she graduated with all these things from high school and blah 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 and did all this stuff, but she's at Disney now, and this is what she does, you know? It
Yes.
it
She's
was
hanging out with some really cool
it,
people.
it was pretty great. So she became very good friends with Mickey and Minnie and Donald and Stitch and
Oh.
Piglet and Sadness and any
Not
variation.
anger. I'm just kidding.
Not
Anger doesn't do
anger,
meet and greets,
he
but
doesn't, but if he did,
she's
and
got a lot
any
to learn from you.
yes, yes, uh, any variation you can think she did. Halloween parties and Christmas parties and weddings
Oh.
and marathons and all kinds of special events, which was just so fun. And that point in our Disney days, and man, did we have our season passes then, like undeniable. We
We're gonna go visit you at work,
I
honey.
and that's what we did, and we would go up after work all the
Oh.
time, or whatever our shift was, and go visit. And we have so many amazing pictures. I have like a collage up in my office, and people come in who don't know, and they're like, "That's really like Disney because it's me and my husband and like all these different characters." And I'm like, "You could just call that like a family portrait."
Yeah. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Yeah, we
I
like the
love it.
characters.
Can I interrupt for just a
Hmm.
second? Ask you something. So I know a lot of people that have either worked for Disney or don't want to work for Disney because they think that it'll ruin the magic. I think for characters, especially when you know the person who is hanging out with the character, I think it actually elevates the experience. And the fact that your daughter was hanging out with some very influential people, how did that make you feel? How were those interactions compared to when she wasn't hanging out with them and it was
I
Mickey?
undescribable. Like I 100% feel it made it even more magical. Like there was just something so special about because we would get just the best interactions, not just from her, but
Uh-huh.
the other people. Like if we were at character spot and we'd go
Yes.
through and meet different characters, you know, they all knew we were coming, and
Yes.
and so we got top-notch treatment, and it was so fun. It just There was one of the very last interactions we had before the world shut down was at Epcot near the International Gateway. They
Mhm.
were doing meet and greets over there with like all Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy really close together over there by the bridge. And
Uh-huh.
we went over there one evening for, you know, to have a character interaction, and ended
Yeah.
up, and they were all separate, but because they were all about to end their shift, we ended up getting all of them together in pictures, and we have this blast of all these different crazy photos, and Goofy, of course, blocking everybody, and it's
Oh,
just so it's like one of the best last memories we have of that. So, yeah.
that's
And everything kind of
amazing.
changed after that. So those are just really, really special memories for us because
Oh.
that I cannot explain how magical it made it. How knowing the role she had, and
Mm.
she was so good at it. So high energy, and to hear her talk about some of her magical moments as she was hanging out with those people was I just makes me so proud.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah.
And like you said, she's got so much life and energy, and you can truly tell that she puts her heart and soul into it as well. And also, too, just going off of like, I think there's a comfortability of when you know who's hanging out with a certain character, and also vice versa. They're like, oh, I can give a bigger hug or, those kinds of things. And it just makes it so special all around. So
It
that was
absolutely did. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have more
I
stories to
have
share, or was
one
that
other thing I thought I'd share, and if you wanna use
awesome?
it, you can, you don't
Yes,
have to.
yes. I just wanna make sure we get all your good stories. I'm loving them. But yes, take it away.
Well, so we were planning a Disneyland trip, for her 20th birthday. Her birthday is June 2nd, and we, in 2019, started planning this trip, to go out to Disneyland and do the whole thing. And because she was a cast member, there were a lot of really great perks and benefits. We were able to get the Pixar Place Hotel,
Yes.
Pixar Pier, Pixar
Sorry,
Place,
Paradise Pier
Paradise.
Hotel.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's been a few
It's
years. Yes,
yes.
that one, that Disney hotel. We were able to book it, and we got concierge level for like a really good rate, like crazy.
Ooh,
So we're like,
amazing.
yes, concierge. Okay. Not my choice of hotels, but it was still good. It was a great location.
You're like, living large. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So we had it all booked and we had our flights booked. And that was also the year that Galaxy's Edge opened, and it opened at Disneyland first. And
Mhm.
it was slated for summer, and we're like, yeah, it'll probably be like late June. And then after we had everything booked, word they released that they were literally opening it the day before we got there.
Stop.
And we were like, oh, we were convinced our trip was going to be ruined, because we were convinced the park would
Oh.
be overrun. Um, we we were
Oh.
afraid that her passes weren't going to work because now we had this special
Oh.
event. And of course, that was all part of the planning. You know, we spend a lot for the hotel, and we don't have to spend as
Right.
much to get all of us into the park. And right, so I'm a
I
nervous
was thinking
Nelly.
good things, and then
I know.
now that you say that, I'm like, "Oh, no, you're
Well,
right."
that's where my brain goes because I am the planner and I'm a nervous Nelly about all of that stuff, and down the budget down to the penny. And and then they started saying, "Oh, well, if you already have a hotel reservation, you can do the." Basically, it was like the first time we'd ever heard of like a virtual queue, right? To get your
Yes.
part, you get your reservation for Galaxy's Edge, and we're like,
I
"Oh,
remember that. Yes. I was
okay."
living in California when that happened. So yes, yes, yes.
So we were able to get our reservations for Galaxy's Edge, and it was like on the fifth day it had been open, I think, was when we got
Mhm.
to go. And then so we got there, got to our hotel, and met the host at the concierge level. And of course, Miranda is so friendly and immediately struck up a friendship with him. His name is Matt, and
Oh.
he was so kind, and he gifted us a very magical moment. He gifted us um, special seating for World of Color, which was
Oh,
phenomenal. We were so excited. I loved that show. I really
yes.
enjoyed that show, and he made it just so much more special by just out of the kindness of his heart gifting that basically for Miranda for her birthday. And
Oh.
they were texting each other. They became that good of friends that they were actually texting each other. And
Oh.
we were at that point they had changed the rules about using the complimentary tickets to get in, and they weren't going to be able
Mhm.
to. They were like blocked out where they hadn't been, and
Oh,
literally like
no.
maybe an hour before we were going to go into the park one day, he texted her and he goes, "They've reversed it. You can use your passes now." And so we were like so
Oh.
excited that we ended up taking the money we were going to spend for those tickets, and we did the Walt his apartment tour, which was
Oh, nice.
so special. I think it just brought really was emotional for Miranda to be there where it all started. You know, Disney's always been such
Mhm.
a special place for her, and so it was really wonderful to be able to do that with her and have that moment, have that experience. So again, just a lot of magic pieces falling into place, and culminating into some really great memories for us. And we
Absolutely.
attribute it to um, having Miranda be such an amazing person and letting us share in all of that. So
Aw.
that's
Well, you guys created such an amazing person,
oh,
so
well, thanks, thank you. We
Oh
like
my
her.
goodness. Yeah, she all right. She all right.
All right.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait for her to listen to this episode. This is gonna
She's
be
gonna
so funny.
die. She's never gonna expect I'm gonna say the things I'm saying. But
Oh my goodness.
yeah,
She oh, that is so and does she still keep in touch with this cast member?
I
Because
think
this is
so.
sounding familiar to your love story. I don't know what the relationship is or anything, but I'm like, it could be, met at a theme park, long distance. I mean,
He
it's all
I think
very similar.
He's married. I think
Oh,
he
okay,
got
never mind. I'm gonna
married.
edit that out then.
I think that, I think he was, like, got engaged, like, right around the time we were out there or something,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
But he was
But
super
that was so
nice.
yeah, that was so nice of him just to, like, let inform you, because you got other things on the brain of, like, what you're gonna conquer for the day and stuff,
Mhm.
so that was super
It
nice, and
really
like you
was.
said, budgeting down to the penny. Like,
Right.
I lived out there so many years, and I know a lot of people don't get to do that tour because, it's those tours are pricey,
Mhm.
and then getting to go into Walt's apartment, like, that's incredible,
Yeah. Yeah.
so wonderful.
It really was. It just made it so being able to do that, being able to go into Galaxy's Edge right after it had opened with all the hype, all the excitement about it. And we're huge Star Wars fans, so that was just super incredible to be able to like we did not plan that trip for that, and yet
Yes.
it ended up happening. It just kind of fell in our lap. So it was really fun to come back to Florida where everybody was still waiting for it because it didn't open for several more months, like
Yeah,
November.
and you guys are
I'm like, oh yeah,
and you guys are like, "Guys, it's great.
we've been
Just
there.
wait." Been there, done that. I'll I'll say, I was living in California when Galaxy's Edge first opened at
Mhm.
Disneyland, and then I moved to Florida right as Rise of the Resistance was opening at Disney World. So I was at the right place at the
Wow.
right time, very similar to you for what
Yeah.
was opening.
Right, and then, of course, we got to do it Rise here, so that was that's an incredible experience.
It is. Oh my goodness. Whether you're a big Star Wars fan or not, it is phenomenal for
Mhm.
sure.
Mhm.
Oh my god. But where can we find you? Please, so we can follow along your adventures, and if you want to tell us your podcast name again, and yeah, we'd love to follow
Yeah.
you.
So my podcast is We Can Laugh About It Now. It is on
Love that name. So
well, there is a backstory to the name. It's from my one
ooh,
of my favorite movies, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
oh,
And if you haven't watched it, you're missing out. It's a great movie from the 80s, a great
writing
John
down
Hughes
planes,
film,
trains.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's a classic, and it's got a lot of great lines in it. My family quotes it always, all the time.
Oh,
So yeah, so we can laugh about it now. And I'm on Apple Podcast and Spotify and Google Podcast and a whole bunch of other places. I have a website, we can laugh about it now podcast.com. Gmail. We can, if you have a story to share, we can laugh about it
yes.
now podcast at gmail.com. And because of my podcast is so new, I am still working on getting all of my social media up to snuff. It's all of my personal social media right now.
But we'll link it once you get it up, even
Perfect.
after the episode airs. So
Perfect.
we got you. Don't worry.
Thank you, Morgan.
Of course, of course. Well, Toy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of those moments and how you fell in love and then all the magic you guys created afterwards and with Miranda. And seriously, I love it. And I cannot wait to be a guest on your show and whatnot. So
Well,
thank you so much.
thank you, Morgan. I really appreciate you being so open to sharing your space with me and allowing me to get the word out. And I had a great time. I really enjoyed getting to share these fun little stories with you.
I feel like we'll have you back. I feel like you'll have more good stories too, but I cannot wait. And again, you guys go listen to her podcast. We can laugh about it now. Again, all the links are in the show notes.